Welcome to Podlygamists, the Sister Wives Rewatch podcast.
We sit down each week and recap an episode of TLC's longest-running reality show, following the Browns, a Mormon polygamous family originating in Lehi, Utah.
I'm Samantha Kaiser.
And I'm Haley Graff.
And this is Podlygamists,
Season 2, Episode 3.
All right. Welcome back. This was definitely a less eventful episode. It was good. I mean, it's good. It was good. It's always good. But it was, a little more like easy watching, I feel like. So this episode, season 2, episode 3, it was only 21 minutes long, I just realized. So that's why it was so light compared to the last few have been 40-minute long. So this is titled The Price of Polygamy. It aired in March of 2011. Kody and Janelle plan a camping trip that leads to a financial talk. That feels like maybe, I don't know. I guess, I don't know that the financial topic of the episode is because they went camping. But I guess, like, there's that weird sleeping bag scene where they're, like, feels a little forced, maybe. Like a little reenacted or something, just to, like, get the ball rolling in the episode.
Yeah, but that was, like, the only maybe trigger from their camping trip that would have inspired any kind of finance talk, but okay.
That's kind of where we open, is them kind of talking about getting ready to go camping for Janelle's birthday, and they're going to Arches National Park, which I believe is in Utah.
It is. That's a bucket list destination for me.
I'm imagining Arches, like the red stone, Yeah, I think I've seen pictures. I think my sister might have gone.
It looks gorgeous. Like I'll get there one day, so.
Kody, this one comment kind of caught me. Kody says every year he and Janelle try to have 2 getaways, just the 2 of them. And I'm like, there's no way current day they are doing that. I mean, COVID aside.
But even just like sequestering somewhere, if they were, in the last 2 years,
right.
Like they have not had that kind of alone time.
I don't know that they
twice.
Yeah, I don't know if they've even been living. I mean, with COVID, they've not been cohabitating even. So.
Right.
But that was just interesting. And the fact that I'm sure if he's saying that he tries to have 2 getaways with Janelle, I'm sure he tries to have 2 getaways at this time with everyone. So we're talking like 8 vacations for Kody a year when everybody else.
And I mean, and talking about it in this episode that is clearly focusing on finances and talking about how they balance their finances. But here's Kody, at least 8 vacations a year.
I mean, this one was camp. This was like 10. This couldn't have.
Yeah, I mean, this was probably lower budget, but still.
It sounds like they were there for a night.
Yeah, not that long.
But, so, Kody's reaction to Janelle's old sleeping bags that don't zip. Here's the scene, kind of. And I'm like, this feels just so unnatural. Like, so we'll see. But it's camping. You gotta zip it together. That's his, like, response when she says they don't zip anymore. And he's kind of flustered by the... I'm like, why do you have to zip? They're the same. It's just a blanket. Like, what are you talking about? And then he's like, let's go. We're going to pick some up on the way there. And she goes, we're not going to pick them up. We'll make do. And it's just so very strange. Like, it had to be reenacted, right, for the cameras?
Probably. Yeah. Probably just to spark the talk. Because they're like, we need something. Like, okay, you're planning on going camping. Great. And they're like, but we also want to talk about how you manage your finances as a polygamist family. So let's find a way to connect those.
How can we join these topics? Yeah, it was just very, like, it felt very, like, now you say, it's camping, you gotta zip them. And now I say, oh, Kody, I'm financially sound Janelle who makes, I'm frugal and stuff. You know what, it was just such a weird, but whatever. Happens.
Well, and too, I mean, like, I go camping pretty often as I can. And I have sleeping bags that don't zip, and I don't even bother. Like, I just use them as, like, laying down one, and then you put another one on top of you, and, like, it doesn't matter to me in the slightest that they don't.
And we see that they have an air mattress, so it's not like they're just, like, roughing it on the ground with this blanket or something. It's just like.
Yeah, and see me, I don't have an air mattress, and I am roughing it on the ground. So, and I still don't zip it. So buck up, Kody. It's fine.
He's real. I don't know.
Cowboy Kody, let's get it together. It's fine.
And that kind of leads us into the conversation about how the family is very socialistic. Kody says everyone's skills kind of contribute. They kind of they paint this picture of like a kind of like this like communal, like, you know, really like, yeah, like socialist sort of like commune. I don't know, where it's like everybody contributes their own skills and we all balance. This kind of is the pitch for polygamy. Is like, even they alluded to it in the last episode with the grandmas. Like, where you have strengths and I have weaknesses, we get to join those together and make the. It is totally that like thing, you know.
Well, they kind of get to talking about, so like Robyn joining the family, and she's been looking for work since moving, because I mean she moved, you know, from 4 or 5 hours away, so she obviously had to get a new job, but she hasn't been able to find anything. And so Janelle kind of felt like Robyn coming in and then not working was just like adding her, and then her kids are more mouths to feed, really, and then having to make their paychecks of basically her and Kody and kind of Mary a little bit. Their paychecks just have to stretch further.
Mm-hmm.
And Robyn doesn't want to feel like a burden than not working. But
yeah, I felt like there was some like subtext here of like everyone's trying to make it seem like, yeah, that's fine. Like Robyn helps with the kids, I guess. Like it was, but also like the way she was kind of explaining herself, like, I just want them to see my value, want them to see my value. Here's my read. And it's like, it's not necessarily giving Robyn the benefit of the doubt, but there's a comment Janelle says, like, oh, it's not for lack of searching. Robyn looked for a job. And then they kind of, Christine has to say, like, yeah, she's helped me a lot with the responses. There's no specific, like, real naming of things she does. Like, I feel like Christine probably had a good handle on caring for the kids. She talks about how much she loved it. I don't know that she needed to divide.
I wrote down, I was like, it feels like, did you ever play softball as a kid?
Like, as a child, like, rec.
Okay.
So, no.
Well, like, I played it for a while, but there would be a position, I don't know how official this is or not, but like the position of the floater, which normally there's 9 people out there, but then you could have 10, and that the floater would basically kind of hover around the outfield, just sort of like as an extra.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that kind of feels like what Robyn is in this scenario, is like just kind of hopping in where like she's needed a bit, but doesn't have like an official role yet.
So would you say, in the way that you like think of a floater, is it sort of arbitrary, like just a position to have another position? Like, is it like sort of like the lowest man on the pole, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because like you already have.
That's the vibe I got from this Robyn. Yeah, like and we kind of had it covered, and now we just have more mouths and less income to cover it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna like all kind of act like, yeah, she does this. And then when she's, even Robyn herself, when she's like listing her like duties, she goes, I'm kind of everybody's go-to girl. And I'm like, yeah, for what though? Like, I was just like,
yeah, I mean, because they don't have any, like, are they creating a task for you then to kind of go do, just to make you feel like you're needed?
That's kind of the thing. And it kind of seemed like she doesn't want to have a job, even though she does that whole, she also has that whole like thing of like, part of me just wants to go out and get some great job and make tons of money and say, look what I did. And it's like, again, what job? What are your skills? Like, I'm not trying to be mean, but it's like, if you don't have the skills to get a high paying, if you don't have the background or the, like, you can't just walk into a really, like, Janelle's I think an accountant, like that takes a lot of education and all that stuff. And Kody, sure, sales is like, anybody can do it. But
we work in a sales related field. Yeah, anyone can do it.
But even so, I mean, it's time consuming, whatever. I don't know. I got the vibe she doesn't want to find a job really, and she's trying to justify her place as a stay at home, even though I think they've got stay at home covered with Christine.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I would like sum it up, I guess.
I felt that way too. And I mean, giving context, I mean, the time period of when this was taking place, it was during the Great Recession. So I mean, it's 2011, you know, and like I remember because I was in college at this time, and like right when I graduated high school, the recession hit. So everyone's like, oh, you know, go to college. That'll be great for you, you know, whatever. But you certainly weren't getting jobs, even if you wanted them, and you weren't getting great jobs either way. So, I mean, even if she does want something, it is kind of unlikely she's going to find something great at that time. So I don't know. Either way, I think she's kind of either wants to be at home or is going to be forced that way. But it is her kind of sticking out like a sore thumb because Christine really does have it covered.
Yeah, it seems that way. It seems like when she says, I want them to see my value, she means I want them to see my value as a stay-at-home. you know.
Yeah.
And I wish they never really say what her job was before, because she did use.
I wish they would. I would love to know what she did. Because she had to have been supporting, she was a single mom. I mean, I don't know if she was getting child support or whatever, but she had largely supporting her 3 kids and paying her own rent and whatever. I mean, it had to be good enough for that.
Found out later, though, she does have, like, bad credit and a lot of debt and stuff, so, like, maybe it wasn't going great then either.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a good point.
But, I mean, that could be, and I know that she does point to her, like, her first marriage as, like, the reason for all the bad debt. Again, all we have is her word to go on, and I'm not trying to say she's, like, lying, but, like, also it's easier to say, like, yeah, my bad marriage to this bad guy is why I have all the debt, not because, like, of me, you know. I guess I just kind of got, like, I was not taking all that commentary at face value, I guess is what I'm saying. It just seemed a little like,
Yeah, I mean, I felt like there was kind of some, like, an underlying tension with it. I mean, it's just another thing. Like, there's the whole emotional aspect of her joining the family and redistributing time with Kody and you know, and everything like that. But yeah, the financial aspect, we haven't really talked about it until this episode, so it was interesting to kind of get into it, that, you know, Cody's saying, like, oh, okay, well, my income covers Robyn and covers Christine. But I mean, where it was probably previously just covering Christine, like Janelle says, then that is needing to stretch his income further.
Mm-hmm. That's 4 more people to, like, care for, you know. And then Mary, it sounds like whatever her job is, I don't know what they say. I haven't caught it really. It seems like she just kind of covers herself with what she does, or like she says she covers the smaller bills. I don't really know what that entails.
Yeah, because it seems like Janelle and Kody are kind of paying the bigger bills, like the mortgage and stuff, and then Mary's sort of maybe just covering anything extra or kind of jumping in where she needs to, I guess. I don't know.
Janelle definitely has, like, mob boss energy in this episode, where she's like, you know, when if someone needs a little more, I give them a little more, and then
I wrote
them my wallet, and then I just toss these bitches some money. You know what I mean? Don't you want to get that?
I wrote down, I was like, Janelle is like a 50s husband. You go buy yourself something pretty.
Looking her, like, billfold, get that billfold out for hand the ladies their grocery money. Like, it was just very
divvying it out.
I mean, like, go Janelle. I'm, like, very proud of her and everything. And if she is an accountant, she probably does make, I mean, good money for, like, a 4-person household. For them, it probably is just getting by until, like, the income from the show really kicks in, or all their kind of endorsements and social media. Until social media comes around, I bet you they don't, like, really have a lot else to run on, you know, because they do a lot of MLMs and later in years, and they do, like, endorsements as influencers and stuff now.
But yeah, and I don't think the income from a TLC reality show for a family of 21 is really going as far as some people might assume.
Yeah, I've looked it up. It is, like, good money, but again, when you're doing the math on, like, it's good. It would be great money for a person.
You and me.
Yeah, I would for sure do it, but it's not, like, life altering money. It's like, what was it, like, 10 grand an episode or something along those lines, maybe.
Yeah, and so, I mean, say it was, and there's, like, 10 episodes a season, say, I mean, okay, so, like, 100 grand for a season, great, but then split it up among what is really 4 kind of separate households. It doesn't go as far as it would for one.
One more person's, like, healthy salary, but that's, they're not, they're all working. The whole family is working, like, full time for that. That way they're on camera.
Yeah. Yeah, you could say the kids even are contributing to that. So it's a little different than just one person going to a job and bringing home that kind of money.
Yeah, for 40 hours or whatever. I don't know why I jotted this down. It was just kind of funny to me. They do show one mysterious friend of Maddie and Aspen. Did you catch that? I was like, who are you?
Yeah, I was like, who's this girl?
It's weird that we show her and don't, like, that's kind of it.
Yeah, she just makes a cameo appearance on the show. We're not like, oh, hey, this is so-and-so, Maddie's friend. Like, no, she doesn't even get an intro. But she just gets some screen time.
I don't know why that, not like super interesting, just funny. But they talk about how, like, all the kids go to Kody when they need something because they know he'll buy it, which kind of seems to be his deal. he doesn't seem like he cuts corners on his like shoes and clothes and such. So like I feel like he doesn't operate in a way of saying no to those things.
Yeah, and did you catch, and I have been having the hardest time remembering what this style was called, but at the beginning where he and Janelle are like packing to go camping and he goes in the closet and he's got that shirt on with that like weird like Hell's Angel kind of pattern on the back. What is that style called?
About
like,
it.
I forget.
Ed.
I feel like it was Ed something.
Yeah, not Ed something E.
Yeah, I cannot for the life of me remember. It's been bugging me for the last 2 days here. Eddie, because then I was like, oh, Eddie Van Halen. Nope, not that.
There's a documentary about it because it's like a big flashy like bedazzles and hearts and like flourishes and like balls.
Yeah.
Ed.
And it was all the rage back in the early mid 2000s.
Well, there's Von Dutch. Okay, Von Dutch is one of those kind of brands, but it's not that. It's Ed Hardy.
Ed Hardy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it's like weird. It's very tacky and like flashy. I mean, they have a different vibe now, but like the early 2000s, Ed Hardy was a specific thing.
People wear like that kind of thing, and then like Vans shoes or like the not Vans, the like DC like fat shoes.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
They're like stuffed.
Yeah, like skaters, like really fat
tongue
shoes.
of the shoes like a pillow. I had those.
Yeah,
I had those when I was in like 4th grade.
My sister had some of those.
And you don't really lace them; they just kind of like clunk on your feet.
You just shove your foot in there and walk around some kind of flopping.
It's funny. It's not. I don't think Kody was wearing Ed Hardy, but it's like one of those brands where it's like sparkles and skulls and bedazzles.
Rhinestones.
He probably has the jeans too. Buckle.
Oh, I'm sure. The bedazzled
find
jeans.
a buckle. A lot of crosses on them, like flourished crosses.
Yeah, like the fleur-de-lis kind of cross. Like,
Yes, Kody, I wouldn't like compliment his style per se, but also it was a different time, so I guess that's fine.
It was exactly a product of his time for the style.
And for the type of dude he is too, because like my dad was not wearing that stuff at that time. But like he's kind of like fancies himself a trendy man, I feel like.
That's very cute. He fancies himself a trendy man.
I don't know. Love him. I love him for it. I think we cut to them loading up the car. We have another debate about the. I think they also pack their own comforter. It seems so they call it a quilt. But camping, they also pack like the comforter.
Seemed like the quilt from their bed or whatever. Like,
and we catch a little baby Gabriel doing some no-handed pogoing, falls off.
Look, Mom, no hands.
And this like over.
Oh, you okay there, bud?
I mean, it was impressive. I was kind of scared of the pogo stick, like with hands. So
I personally loved the pogo stick as a kid. Like I got really good at it for a while. Like I'd jump like hundreds of things at a time. Like I got quite good at it, but I didn't do it without hands. So.
Never. I was tentative with it because once it got too high, I felt like it was out of control and I got scared. But I did have a pogo stick, and also mine. Maybe they take a while to break in, or maybe I was just too light as a child, where I like couldn't really get it to like spring down.
Yeah, it was like stiff when you'd start. Mm-hmm.
Good stuff, the pogo. So we arrive in Arches National Park. They set up their ginormous tent.
Huge.
Not much else to say about it besides the fact that it was just like it was like a multiple person.
It was like an 8-person tent.
Knowing about tents, when you buy an 8-person tent, the diagram shows them like head to feet, like packing there like a sausage.
Yeah, as if you're gonna want to sleep that way.
Like literally the max capacity is whatever they're telling you it is. So if you want to be comfortable with 2 people, you probably need a 3-person at least, I feel like.
Well, because I go camping yearly, like with my friend. Shout out to my friend Allie, who has listened to some of the episodes at least. But she and I go camping every year in the fall at this one park, and she's got a 2-person tent, which is very snug with her, and she has 2 dogs, and so it's very snug when we use that 2-person tent, which we can never effing set that tent up. I think it's like a demonic tent because it never works the way it should. But so I mean, we're pretty crammed in there with a 2-person tent. That being said, it's also like end of October that we do this, so you want to keep warm, I guess, so it kind of makes sense. But I mean, I personally have a 4-person tent that really feels like what is actually a 2-person tent.
Yeah. I mean, literally, when you look at the bottom of the box and you're trying to figure out, it's like they'll show the yeah, 6-person tent, but they're like
configured
this.
like Jenga blocks in there.
Or Tetris.
Yeah,
Like
Tetris. You're like that. I don't. Okay, who wants to sleep that way? That's not comfortable.
I guess technically it's an option.
Yeah, if need be, you could make it work. But
and Christine, let's see, we show her at the grocery store, like really excited about the couponing, the grocery bill. She's thrifty. I don't know, it's just a weird. It's such a short scene to like call all the cameras to the grocery store. I was thinking,
can you imagine?
You know,
I'm just rolling up at your Kroger or whatever.
And you're like, okay, we're gonna walk in, wave your coupons around, look around the aisles, check out, let's see that total, and then we're done.
Let's get a shot of the produce section real quick.
Just like so, it's like okay, I guess. So, anywho, we kind of cut back to Robyn talking about how she contributes by taking care of the kids. I'm the go-to girl anytime, and I'm just like, which means it just seems like she's like thou doth protest too much. Like we all know you're not doing a whole lot, Robyn. Like just say that you don't want to do a whole lot. Like,
I mean, because she's like, oh, I'm feeling kind of lost without working, and I don't know. Like she goes, because I used to just, when I had to pay a bill, I just paid the bill, and she's like, now it's like, do I put the bill on the counter and be like, is someone going to pay this for me? Or,
that would be weird.
I don't know what I would do with that. I mean, obviously you and I, like, we live in a modern age where women are working and that's normal for women to work. I just can't imagine not working, I guess, because first off, I just have to. But secondly, I mean, I don't know what I would do all day. Like I could probably figure out some stuff, but I would feel weird though paying for anything if someone else was supporting me, I guess. Like
I just think it'd be so weird to be like, I have no idea what's going on with these bills. Just go to this pile and then they're addressed, and that's like you know what I mean. That part to me is strange.
Yeah, to not be involved in like the financial planning of the household, like because I mean, even Christine, like she's not working, but she says like I contribute to the family financially by shopping really smart and clipping coupons and making sure that I stay on budget and stuff. And so I mean, so she is kind of like involved at least in the process of knowing how much money they have to spend and what she needs to do. So she in that way though is just kind of as involved in the family finances as the rest of them, even though she's not working. But then there's Robyn, who's kind of just there.
Yeah, just kind of showed up to like a fully functioning operation. Yeah, they kind of do cut to, I don't know when, I don't have a note, but I just remember it now. They cut to that like doomsday prepper pantry they have with all the big cans of bulk food, and they're like, when we have flour, we just go to the pantry and get the flour. And there was a tip about running out of sugar because Mary used the last of the sugar. Right. It just looked very like industrial and socially, commune-y, the way they had that pantry full of cans.
Very commune-y.
Janelle does make a comment that she is hopeful Robyn will get a job.
Really hoping one of these days she'll get a job.
I'm sure she is well-intentioned, but also like knowing her, she's just like, yeah, realistically, like we should have more income probably if we're gonna do this. Like if we're gonna take on all these wives,
I mean, at the end of the day, Janelle is the practical one. Like she's stressing. She's like, I stress every single month about how things are gonna get paid. She's like, somehow they do, but it doesn't. It's very hard for me to like they really have to do a lot of juggling and planning to make sure all their bills get paid. And Janelle is probably the one doing most of that juggling and planning.
And I bet she does. I bet she's excellent at it, and like how lucky they are to have that skill set and like mindset to budget appropriately and like responsibly and everything. But right. Yeah, I can just see her wheels turning a little bit about that.
Yeah, like Robyn makes the comment. She's like that. I want to be like really integral to the family, like where they would notice her absence and miss her. Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, I mean, I get that. Of course you want that, but it is going to take some time though, because they've spent a long time being a family without you. Like they know how to be without you.
Yeah. And I think she does like find her like role in the family for sure. We'll see it, but like, I don't know that she ever does really get a job.
We'll see their business down the road, but
their business. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. Janelle makes the next kind of interesting little comment I guess I have is Janelle says she thinks that all the kids think that they think their mom is the favorite. So that was interesting. Yeah. Which I think is sweet, like the Janelle, that the kids all think that. And I think that changes. I mean, we can talk at the end, since this is a shorter episode, about some of Peyton's most recent stuff that he sent over. Where they're aware that that's like not the case as they grow up. But like, it's sweet that that's the... And they do have good relationships at this phase.
Well, I mean, especially on Kody's part, like you do see that he does prioritize making time alone with each wife at this phase. Like it changes, we'll see down the road. But I mean, at this point, like he's talked about, he like needs to compartmentalize his relationship with each wife. So I mean, going off with whichever one of them and making them, like Janelle says, he makes me the center of his universe when they're together. So it does feel like he's their husband alone and not, sharing with 3 other women. So, and I think he definitely, at this stage of their lives and relationships, he does a better job of it than he does in later years. And probably his priorities shift in later years, but.
They talk a little bit while they're at the park, Janelle and Kody, about how they've been married 17 years and only in the last 1 or 2 years has she figured out that he like really enjoys PDA and like physical affection and stuff like that, which I think is so like, dang, 16 years it took to get there.
Yeah. I've thought about this before too, like, there's recently like the whole conversation about love languages and stuff and what people need in relationships. And I'm just like, but it's so hard for Kody though, because each one of those women needs something different. Each one of those women has a different love language. And it's like you have to constantly be adjusting yourself to give each different woman what they need. And I mean, yeah, like they have to in turn give him what he needs too. And, Janelle, obviously it's a bit of a stretch for her because she doesn't like the PDA. And she's like, oh, I actually realize he needs me to like kiss him in public so that he knows that I love him, But it's just, that's like an exhausting mental exercise to continuously have to adjust for each wife of what they specifically need in your relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like remember, just changing gears and remembering. Like it's, I mean, it sounds simple, but like I bet it's not. Like if you're trying to like, this is like a weird comparison, but it's what's coming to mind. Is I was at an event that we have called Beer, Wine, and Cheese this weekend.
We live in Wisconsin, so beer and cheese are a thing.
And like wine more and more, so I feel like we have a lot of wineries.
I love wine. I mean, I'm drinking wine right now, so.
See, that's the part that I was not into, but that's okay. It was 2 for $3. It wasn't bad. But for this thing, like a lot of people come back to town who went to college here. A lot of people come out of town to attend this. Pretty much everyone in town goes. Like it's like a big, everyone over the age of like, probably 25.
Well, and the people who don't go, it's only because the tickets sell out that you can't go.
Yes, they sell out. It's a big deal, and it was a huge crowd, which it was like the first big crowd I've been in a long time. But the point that I'm making is that while I was there, I had local friends, I had college roommates that were in town, and I had another like college friend that didn't know the other college friend or the local friends, and we were all hanging together. And every time I'd turn around and be like, "Oh, there's Heather," and say to someone, and then I'm looking at the person, I'm like, I forget who you know and who you don't know, and like what context I know you in, because I'm just like with all these people. Like it was wonderful. It was very fun to like have all these people. I called it the crossover episode, where it's like all my friends from different like places. But it was hard. It was like, even I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't remember who you know and
yeah, I mean, you don't know met and stuff of my friend group,
Like, there's that thing. Remember that? I'm like, oh no, you don't.
You weren't there for that.
Who remembers that thing? Someone of you does.
Yeah,
and it's just. I mean, make that a wife instead of just like friends that don't know each. Like, I'm sure that happens a lot. Like, oh, remember that thing we did? And they're like,
no, it wasn't me.
Cool. Like,
yeah,
we're like, you love pork chops, and they're like, I fucking hate pork chops. Thanks, though.
Right.
Like, like I can only imagine how I can't keep things straight like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think about like, okay, say you're dating somebody for a long time and then you break up, and then you kind of shortly after start seeing someone new. you're still kind of in the same mindset, and maybe that's not, we could debate if that's super healthy to jump in to a new relationship, but it happens all the time. But I mean, you're still kind of in the old mindset of what it was like with your previous partner, that you gotta adjust though for that new partner.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, you do have to kind of rewire some stuff in your brain, like, okay, no, we don't do this, you and me, this person, we don't do this, I did that with so and so, it's just, you gotta.
Yeah.
And for him, that's a daily thing.
constantly rotating through that.
Yeah.
And in this kind of like madness, we kind of see him not Kody's still a good dude to this day, whatever, but he starts to come a little unhinged in these later years, like for a myriad of reasons. There's pandemic, there's relationship complications, the kids growing up, blah blah blah, all these moves that happen. But that combined, it would drive you nuts to like just trying to please these people around you, even when he has like the ability and willingness and energy to try to like put energy towards. If he's tired and has been with the other 3 wives the rest of the week, and he's like, and you, Christine, I bet he called him the wrong name. Janelle, Christine, Robyn, Mary, that thing with people.
My grandma would do that all the time, like, because a lot of my cousins, I'm the only S name, Samantha, but all the rest of my cousins had L's in their name. So she'd go through like the list of all the cousins with the L name and be like, you know which one I'm talking to, you know which one I mean. Like, she would do that. And so I can just see him doing the same kind of run through that.
It's your wife, and your wife doesn't want to feel like they're like getting
lumped into a group. Like, you want to feel like you're individual and important. Like,
yes, I can only imagine the little sting of that. Like, yep, I'm waiting for you to get to my name after you went through everybody else's name or everybody else's like preference.
What if you're like the last one on that list too, and you're like, does that mean something?
Or like, even yet, he's like still trying to like, and who's the last one? Which one didn't I name?
I suppose even like his kids probably feel some of that too, like
Garrison Gabriel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of like.
But I mean, he's just got to be short circuiting just all the time, and like,
exactly,
he can only do it for so long, and then we see there's kind of a decline that happens. So
you got to be sharp, and you can't stay on that. It's not. I mean, credit to him that like he has tried, and I think it has made him a little crazy. But like, it would make anybody a little crazy because it's a lot.
I fully admit I couldn't do it. Like,
I'm not good at that either. I'm not good at those changing gears that on a dime like that either. Like, he would have to.
Especially, I think the older you get too, like, you kind of get sort of set in your ways a little bit more. And so, I mean, we do say, like, he's in his 50s now and stuff. Like, you are starting to get, like, you get in a groove of life, and you don't always want to have to be so changeable about stuff and adaptable to stuff. It's because you're just tired. Like,
I'm just tired. I was just gonna say, like, not even that unwillingness, but you're just like, I'm
tired.
I'm tired.
I get it, man. Like, so I mean, I can't fault him for that. Like,
yeah. I don't even know how we got all the way down that tangent, but that's okay.
Hopefully that was enjoyable for the listener.
I have a note about Mary's patriotic room. I don't know a whole lot to say, but it was just odd. Like, her patriotic sewing room.
Yeah. I was wondering if you were going to talk about that because you like sewing anyways, but I was like, she does have a lot of flag stuff.
Yeah, like little patriotic bear things and stuff. It felt very like Airbnb-y, or not Airbnb, but like bed and breakfast-y. Yeah. The like kind of corny, overly stuck to a theme thing going on. Yeah. But she was sewing, which was nice. And I remember too, like, for Christmas, for a lot of years, she tries to sew everybody pajamas, I believe, like all the kids. I mean, that is an undertaking to sew that many pajamas.
Yeah.
That many kids and all these different sizes, and I can only imagine that process. But yeah, she was working on a little thing. I thought that was sweet. That's the end of my notes. I just realized I tried to turn to the next page and it's work notes. So I don't know if you had anything else.
The only other thing I had, the end of my notes here, was like that I thought this episode, and I texted you about this when I watched it, I was like, I did think this episode was a pretty good argument for why polygamy works or can work. I'm still not going to jump on board with it, obviously. But I mean, it did show like that Robyn's kind of extra role aside, that they do all contribute something to the family, and that they are, at this point at least, a pretty good team. as far as keeping this large household running and all kind of sharing their strengths and stuff. That they do a pretty good job of it in this era, at least, of their lives. So it was interesting because, I mean, how many episodes I keep saying, like, and I say it a million times, like, I don't get it, like, this polygamy and stuff. Like, I want to try to understand it, but I just probably never will. But I mean, this episode was I think a pretty good argument for it, as much as it can be. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think this, and actually, to me, the last one was more so. It's almost like religious conviction aside. It's just like it's the commune lifestyle. It's like the communal, like they said, socialist. Just like very like everybody gives, everybody gets what they need out of it. Like, and it just kind of throwing Robyn into this. I was just kind of thinking too is like. To me, this episode was not a good argument for it because it's just like it doesn't add up. But then I'm like, yeah, actually, if we like Robyn aside, it makes it seem like it was working very well for in a lot of ways. Like the relationships weren't all perfect at this time either, but they were better. I don't know. It just it showed a lot of the ways in which it was working really well until like this other factor was added in, and then now they kind of got to reshuffle, and it makes me think like there should be like a common like agreement, unwritten rule, like adding a wife this late in the game is a bad move.
I know. I mean, because I really like all of them were all added within like a 3 to 5 year span at the beginning. And so they didn't really have a ton of time to really just sort of adjust to being the only wife or not having additions to their family. And they all were added before they had their first kid too.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a difference. And so like I wrote down too that like with Robyn, that they showed her like kind of bonding with some of the kids and like working on her relationship and stuff with the kids. And that's great. And I'm like, I think they do genuinely like come to love Robyn and stuff, but I think they love her more as like a stepmom.
Yeah.
Because like the other three, they have been there their whole lives. They're their three moms. And then you add in this new person years down the road. I mean, you can't be anything but like an extra or an addition. Like that's just the nature of it.
They're just so established this way. They started their family with 4 parents, Kody and 3 wives. And like they built everything around that dynamic for like 18 or 20 years.
Yeah.
Before it's just like it just seems like this was stupid. I believe Robyn was meant to come along and like there's redeeming. I don't mean to paint her as like the problem of this.
She's got great things that she adds to the mix, and we'll see eventually. But it is just hard that late in the game. You feel like it's like too late to really appreciate it.
Like maybe adding the fourth for the other women, the other wives, adding the 4th wife made them realize like I mean, you can't unring the bell of like marrying her and like adding these kids to the family, but like it just made like, oh man, we didn't realize how difficult this was because they didn't have to do all the things that they'd have to go through all the things that to add each other to the family they did when the Robyn came.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was she integrates. She does. It's just like it just seems really painful the process. And I mean, if we're pivoting into like kind of more current things, I guess just to like throw that out there. You had sent me that interview, or not interview, but Q&A that like Peyton did. And Peyton's kind of, and we gotta also disclaim like this is one person's opinion in the family, one kid of one wife who didn't have a good relationship in the family. Mm-hmm. So, there are 17 other perspectives that are gonna be different. Mm-hmm. So like we're not saying like Peyton is the one giving us all the correct insight. Like it's his perspective. As still a young person as well. So, like,
yeah, what, is he 23, 24?
Like, a couple years younger than that, yeah. So, like, 23, I want to say.
Yeah.
But he talks about how he believes, basically, that Robyn is the one woman that Kody loves and wanted to be with. And that he is happy that his dad found that person, happy that Robyn found that person. But, like, ouch. Like, is that the common belief in the family, I kind of wonder? Like, or just, like, this kind of like disgruntled kid's perspective. Like I gotta wonder what where that came from, that like comment, that belief, because he says it like very plainly and like explicitly that that's what he believes. So like it seems like it's a commonly accepted belief the way he says it. I
At
don't know.
least maybe amongst Christina's kids in her
Yeah.
household, that maybe that's something that they're all, except for like Truly's still pretty young, but like all of them are adults at this point. So I mean, you do have different conversations, with your parents once you reach adulthood, that maybe this is something they've kind of gone over, especially with her decision to leave the family and stuff. That like, yeah, I mean, recognizing that he's holding Robyn in a different kind of esteem than the rest of the wives at this point, and Christine doesn't want to play second fiddle anymore. I don't know, that those might be conversations they have in their household and everything. But I think that's a hard thing for any kid though to see, because I think every kid wants their parents. Like I think of on The Office, the quote like Pam says, like every kid thinks their parents are soulmates, and she's like, my kids will be right about that. And I mean, I think every kid probably wants that. And so like children of divorce and stuff, especially, coming to terms with like your parents sometimes hating each other is a very difficult thing emotionally to go through.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that quote I thought of too early in the episode when Janelle says the thing about all our kids think that their mom's the favorite. It's like that's, I mean, that's sweet then, but also like not a possible like thing, like they can't all be. So like someone is and someone's not. But whatever. That aside,
Yeah.
I yeah, just I was just kind of surprised by like the way that he was so like my dad found the woman he loves, and I'm happy for him. So it's like, what are we saying about Janelle and Mary exactly? Like, I don't know. Like, they're still around.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, yeah, because then it's kind of, if you're saying he found the woman he loves, then it's kind of the implication that the ones that came before he didn't love. That he was just marking time with them until he met Robyn.
I don't believe that. I don't know. It's so weird to me. It's like, because like, while Robyn is like lovely and sweet, and like, obviously they do have a good relationship. Like, to me, I'm like, what? She's the one that you love? Like, I don't know. I just like have so much like love and respect for the other moms that it's just like, it just is like, I mean, I guess you can't like quantify the way people feel, but I'm like, to me, I'm like, I'd love to like see some sort of like pie chart of like how much of this is just physical attraction, how much of this is just like out of like novelty of like still having this. I mean, she's been around now for like a little over 10 years.
Unfortunately, I mean, I think physical attraction, though, does sometimes take a lot of precedence, and more so than maybe you intellectually want.
I mean, Kurt to this. I mean, again, this is 10 years later. We're talking about now. That's when Peyton just. So it's lasting to a point. I don't know. It just made me just like. I wonder if it's commonly accepted kind of between like Mary and Janelle as well at this point, and they're just like, "This is our family." It's kind of like, "This is our family. This is our life." Like, I don't need to be. The marriage doesn't need to be like the focal point of my family life. It can be like the friendship, the kids.
For Janelle, I think it's definitely that.
Yeah, Janelle's like big with her kids these days. Like, she's always traveling to see them and spend time with them.
Well, I mean, and she's talked about modern day that like she and Kody have both kind of admitted like they're not in love, and that, at least for Janelle, is okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be. I mean, of course, I'm like dying to see this next season and see how like life after Christine kind of plays out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we'll see. I don't know. But the other thing is that tomorrow is the first premiere of Under the Banner of Heaven,
Mm-hmm.
which comes out will already have been out, but there are multiple. It's a multiple episode deal. That's going to be 2 episodes releasing tomorrow, and then 1 more each week from there. So by the time you listen to this, there will be at least 2 episodes out and 1 more coming up shortly. So
Yeah.
it's exciting. It's been in the works it's been hyped for so long.
I'm pretty excited. I'm gonna be, after work tomorrow, I'm gonna be snuggling in my PJs and watching the first couple episodes. I'm pretty excited.
I was reading a New York Times, like review of this series, and I guess they add because you and I were looking at like the cast that they kept putting out on Instagram, like, who are these characters? Adding, because there's kind of the three plots of Joe Smith, the murder, the family, the Laffertys, and then they're adding the perspective of the investigating officers more so. So that's kind of like that. That's Andrew Garfield's character and his kind of plot line through the story. So that'll be an interesting perspective to add. And the weird thing is, as I'm reading that and thinking about this, they didn't like show actors who were playing like Joseph Smith or anything, right?
Not that I've seen, anyways.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know if that's part. We'll see. We'll have to see if that's like a big part of the. It seems like it'd be hard to do all those things.
Without like the context. I mean, because obviously, and people listening, if you haven't listened, go back and listen to our book club discussion. But I mean, a good chunk of the book is talking about the history and stuff, so we have context for the modern day true crime part of it. So I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't know how they would really do the show as much if they don't have any of that context in it. Yeah. They could maybe find a way, but I don't know. So.
I mean, the one of the things the review did say is that it's one of the best cast things she's seen in a long time. Awesome. Which, like, there's
Cousin Rory.
There's a cousin Culkin in it.
For the listener, my claim to fame is that the Culkin family, Macaulay Culkin and the like, are my third cousins. So cousin Rory Culkin is in this. I haven't met them, so don't get excited, but we are genetically somehow related.
There's a lot of cousin energy on the Podlygamists podcast.
We love the cousins. We got cousin Danny, cousin Rory, cousin Dalton.
Cousin Dalton, yeah.
So.
Cool. Well, I think that's about it, and probably about all my voice can do at the moment. And my dog's also harassing the hell out of me.
Yeah, I got Kevin on my lap here, so he's putting my leg to sleep. So.
I think it's dinner time for the dog.
Yes.
So I got to make sure he knows that. That's why he's bugging me. Okay. Well, sounds good. I'll see you tomorrow. And thanks again for joining us. And follow us on Instagram. And you can email us if you want to. podlygamistpod@gmail.com and podlygamist at Instagram. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.